What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Will Brinson. I'm your host. This is our Monday Night Football recap, the debut of Las Vegas. Is it Allegiant, Reliant, whatever it is, stadium, sponsored by somebody. It's huge. It's cool. It's in the desert. It's right next to casinos. It's hard to imagine that the NFL is in Las Vegas, but the Raiders are there. They won, and they're opening debut against the Saints, no less, beating New Orleans 34-24. The Raiders, of course, covered the 5.5. The over hit fairly easily. And if you listen to our preview with Jordan Dejani, you cashed on the props because we said to take Kamara props on the catches and the receiving yards. We said to take Darren Waller props on the catches and the receiving yards, and maybe Josh Jacobs. I think that cashed. The catches cashed, maybe not the receptions. We did pretty well. Joining me to break it down, the Super Friends, John Breech, a master of Vegas, and Ryan Wilson, someone who was rooting on the pandemic so he could skip Vegas in order to not go to the draft there.
That's the opposite. For all you youngins out there, that is the opposite part of life. The younger you are, the more you want to be in Vegas. The older you are, the more you want to avoid it. That is pretty much the circle of life right there.
Hey, so our pal, Bryant McFadden, and his cousin and NFL All-Pro cornerback, Patrick Peterson. If you like podcasts, you like football podcast, they have a new podcast. I've got a Cars Band-Aid hanging off my hand here. I can't get to stay on this cut I've got. That's life of being old. They have a new podcast. It's called All Things Covered. Have you guys heard about this podcast?
Yes,
I have.
Excited. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
have you listened to it yet?
Do you know?
If you haven't, it's fine.
Do you know?
I have a follow-up question. Do you know who the first guest is?
I do.
Who is it, Breech?
I've been tweeted multiple times
Because you know who I think it is?
asking me if I could introduce the first guest.
I think it's
Tyron Mathieu.
we back, baby. Tyron Mathieu is the first guest on All Things Covered. It's perfect synergy for a CBS podcast. And our pal,
Tyron Mathieu.
he's like BFFs of Pete. After the Super Bowl,
Tyron Mathieu.
came up to Pete and hugged him and did an interview with him after the Chiefs won. He's the first guest on All Things Covered. Breech not invited to introduce him. Unfortunately, download and subscribe it wherever podcasts are found. BMAC, I love having BMAC on the show. I know he and Pat P are going to kill it. And if you can, roll out a podcast with Tyron Mathieu, you're doing good work. So,
by the way,
soundbite is back, baby.
Tyron Mathieu is an amazing guest. Debo, do you want to tell him who next week's guest is? Because I'm even more excited about that.
Next week will
Troy
be
Polamalu?
another Pittsburgh Steeler legend, I would say, and that's current head coach Mike Tomlin.
Oh, wow.
Right? That's huge. So
Pulling the
jealous.
big guns out early.
So
I can't pronounce Mike Tomlin's last name, unfortunately. There's not enough there.
As you pronounce it correctly.
Mike-
Tomlin? Is it Tomlin?
Man, that's so it's once a week. That's how you do a podcast.
Every Tuesday,
Once-
except for the week that Pat plays on Monday Night Football. Then we're going to bump it back to a Wednesday because this guy's big time. He's playing on Monday nights. The Cardinals are 2-0. He talked about that. He talked about Kyler being an MVP candidate early in the season. He talked about his contract. This is a contract year for Pat. He knows he has to ball out. So good stuff all around, including our guest.
Tyron Mathieu.
The disappointing thing, sorry for the microphone bump. The disappointing thing is that BMAC is good at this, and he can just show up and have a better not a better podcast, but
No. This is great news for Debo because he can dump you in short order and get onto the.
It's a
you
different
don't think I noticed that Debo's like he's like you're watching your girlfriend on Facebook posting pictures of like with a hot with a better looking man. That's what you're seeing right now.
And all of a sudden, Debo's not returning your text messages anymore.
That's
He's
the only
not
analogy I could make.
answering your calls.
Yeah, like Debo, like, are we podcasting? He's like, I don't have time right now. I'm with Bryant.
BRB.
Yeah. Or have I ever told you the story about, and we'll get to the game in a second. This is kind of a funny story. So, when somebody calls your phone, you can hit the message response, like the custom message response or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
I always hang up, so I'll have to check it.
Okay.
out.
On the
I don't
iPhone,
answer phone calls.
On the iPhone, if you get a phone call incoming, there's an option to hit a text message reply. Let's say you're busy, like doing something else, and you can't answer. You hit the text message reply. You can write your own message. There are several custom messages. One is like, can't talk right now, call later. Well, my stepfather-in-law, my mother-in-law likes to call people on the telephone a lot. And one day I was able to, she was like, Carrie always sends me these little messages. I was like, well, let me see. I looked at it, and it is, their text message exchange is literally 42 consecutives I can't talk right now text, like automatic text replies that he sent back to his wife.
He's busy.
She'll
That
call him
is
at
pretty
work. He's
funny.
like, can't talk right now. Call him back. Can't talk right now. Just that's a single day's worth. All right,
Brinson, this shows that I still care about you, but you have shared that on the podcast before.
Oh, I do.
I'm just looking out for you.
Did seem like a story I would have told already on here.
We
thought
need
that
to
as I
keep
was
like
going.
a chart, and we'll scratch off any story Brinson has told, and then we just point at the chart anytime he starts repeating a story.
All right, let's get on to the game itself. The thanks, T-Bag. Appreciate it. It makes me feel cold and dead inside. The Raiders beat the Saints. And I don't know that we can talk about this. Look, this is a huge win for the Raiders. They are 2-0. They beat the Panthers and they beat the Saints. They have a road win on the East Coast and a first ever game in this brand new, incredible stadium in Las Vegas win against the team we thought was the best team in the NFC. It's just two really good wins to start the season. But I don't think that that's the storyline, because the storyline is Drew Brees toast? He looked like he can't throw the ball 20 yards down the field. Should he be playing for the Saints right now? Should Jameis Winston be under center? Should Taysom Hill be under center? Is Drew Brees without Michael Thomas, the slant machine, washed up? I think that's a viable question.
We were having this conversation last year. Nothing's changed. He's just a year older, to quote the man who can't be named. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't surprised by that. I was more surprised by his counterpart. But if we're talking Drew Brees first, yeah, he looked like a 40-year-old guy who's trying to play with a bunch of 20-year-olds. That's it. Alvin Kamara went off. Manny Sanders didn't do anything. Jared Cook didn't do much. The defense sucked, especially in the secondary. Malcolm Jenkins had probably one of his worst games since, I don't know, middle school or something. But Drew Brees didn't help, and you had no sense that he was going to will that team back. And, oh, by the way, they had, I think, 5 penalties in the third quarter. I think they had double-digit penalties by the time it was all said and done. They've had more than 200 yards penalties in 2 games. I mean, there are a lot of issues to point the finger at.
Sean Payton had one of the worst challenges you'll ever see.
I don't know what that was.
And Drew Brees, by the way, averaged through 2 weeks 4.3 air yards. This is courtesy of sports editor Scott Van Pelt. I saw this graphic popped up. Is the second lowest number over the last 15 years, ahead of only Brett Favre with the Vikings, and directly behind Derek Carr in 2017, which is beyond hilarious.
I remember the Derek Carr stat. It was like depressingly flat.
I will say, I think this is an interesting aspect of this game, because that Saints team, if you had to ascribe one quality to them, it would be Las Vegas hungover.
Are you saying that because the game was in Las Vegas?
Where you should automatically pick up and keep talking, because you are always Las Vegas hungover.
I mean, I am perpetually Las Vegas hungover. It didn't look hungover to me. It looked like your 45-year-old dad thought he could get drunk for the first time in 5 years, and then was trying to drink with his 21-year-old buddies in Las Vegas at a bachelor party.
It's like when Wilson had, what did Wilson have on the rooftop, and he punched you in the nuts?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was a Irish car bomb. Is that what that was?
I thought it was a Red Bull and like vodka, but that's what it was. You know, like we all had that one drink and we're all fine. Wilson looked like he had pounded 8 drinks, even though he only had 1, because it hits you faster when you're older. And, you know, and Wilson said it's like watching the 45-year-old guy playing pickup basketball with the 20-year-olds. You mentioned Emmanuel Sanders. You know what he does well? He goes deep. But the problem with the Saints is if you run a route past 15 yards, Drew Brees is not going to get you the ball, because it doesn't look like he's the arm strength to throw that far anymore. I think the number right now is through 2 games, he has thrown 1 completion further than 20 yards downfield. He didn't attempt a single one in this game. I'm not sure he had the arm strength to. It was that bad. He missed a couple wide open guys who were only about 10 yards downfield. It seems like every yard over 8 yards, further downfield, his accuracy decreased by like 15%. It was that bad. And so I don't know if this was just an aberration one game or if Drew Brees is in the tank.
His arm strength is going to get better in the weeks going forward. He's not Benjamin Buttons. And also to follow up on what Breech was talking about with the lack of ability to throw deep, that interception was one of the worst interceptions of the week. It was a crossing pattern that should the ball need to travel about 15 yards. The ball went 4 yards. And it went right to the defensive player, number 50, I think it was.
The linebacker. He's like, how did he miss the linebacker?
No, that's what he was aiming for. I don't know, because that's what it looked
like.
Oh,
he was trying to throw it over him. I think he was trying to force it.
I know he was throwing it at the Raiders linebacker.
So Next Gen Stats has their charts up already, which is very impressive. Drew Brees, one attempt over 20 yards. I don't even remember him trying that. Incomplete. Did complete two, it looks like 3 passes of 15 yards or more. But if he was completing those, they were to guys who were wide open because of the offensive schematic design that Sean Payton implemented. I think the
deep pass was to the rookie Adam Troutman, the tight end, if I recall, because I was like, oh, Adam Troutman was good at Dayton, and now he's playing, so that's good. But other than that, it was. I mean,
it's just concerning.
But what's different than we had this conversation in November, December last year, right?
Yeah, I mean,
nothing's changed.
The difference is. Like you kind of need him to get hurt again for 5 games and come back.
But that's horrible to say.
No,
I mean, they won all 5 games. Remember when they weren't going to win the Seattle Breach?
Oh, I remember. They had no chance. 0% chance of winning with Teddy Bridgewater.
And Teddy said, watch this. He put his gloves on, and he gave Breech the old Chevy Chase there in Fletch.
I mean, I do think, like, part of this, like, this could have – you're right, Ryan. This could have been here for a couple of maybe a year or a year and a half, 2 years, whatever it is, and it's masked by the fact that like 60% of Drew Brees' pass attempts are to Michael Thomas running a slant.
And that could be it. I mean,
and he just bodies up and he gets inside and Brees hits him in the belly, and that's an easy pass that he can still make. I wonder if he'll be able to overcome or overcompensate the lack of arm strength by, well, like being like Peyton Manning made smart play. And I don't know that are we 2015 Peyton Manning here? What do we think?
I mean, I don't think Brees. I think Peyton Manning, and Brees is a smart quarterback, but Peyton Manning was the peak of quarterback intelligence. Nobody could read a defense and react faster than Peyton Manning, so he adjusted quickly to losing that arm strength, and he was like, he knew he was losing his arm strength.
Lost his arm strength in Indianapolis.
Right. He was acknowledging it, and he kind of planned ahead for it. So that he was reading defense. He was always one step ahead of you, so that it didn't hurt him as much. They lost it. Drew Brees, it's almost like he is not willing to accept it. And, like I think Ryan said, if you don't have Michael Thomas out there running his short little cross routes to dump it off to all the time, who's he throwing to? I mean, I think the Saints offense is some serious trouble until Michael Thomas gets back on the field.
9 targets, 9 catches, 95 yards for Alvin Kamara. I mean, you're just dumping it off. You're running routes, and this is against a bad defense in Oakland. And defenses are going to probably be bad for the next couple of weeks, but you're basically running multiple routes with your receivers and then letting Kamara clear out and dumping it down and letting him do his work. Traquan Smith was really good too. 5 catches on 7 targets, 86 yards. Ty Montgomery was heavily involved. Deontay Harris is a burner, but he couldn't get a whole lot done. Alvin Kamara, 13 carries, 79 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a huge game. You can always lean on him. But, I mean, Brees was 26 of 38 for 312, a touchdown and a pick. That's a very not Brees-like game against a bad defense like the Raiders.
I think we're over. This is the same guy. I think
he led the league.
Except no Michael Thomas.
Right. No Michael Thomas, all the stupid penalties. This defense, which is supposed to be good, got absolutely demolished by Derek Carr. You want to talk about Captain Checkdown? Look at his stat line. 11 different targets. Great. He wore out Darren Waller. I mean, what's the difference? Darren Waller's half a dozen of one with Alvin Kamara. It's the same deal.
Derek Carr, the Raiders scored 34 points. Derek Carr threw 38 times, and he averaged 7.4 yards per attempt. It's not like the terrible, but I mean, like, if you score 34 points, you shouldn't be averaging 7.4 yards per attempt. He is the king of checking down.
I know you don't like David Carr, but Derek Carr or David, excuse me.
12 catches for Darren Waller, 103 yards and a touchdown. Unbelievable.
Yeah, but I mean, this isn't all Drew Brees. He's the same guy we've seen before. That stat line from Drew Brees, if you go through the last 2 years, probably looks pretty Drew Breesian. It's just that everything else, including Michael Thomas, didn't go right. And, we just talked about it. Sean Payton didn't have his best game either.
He looked
And don't forget, they pulled the
He
Falcons.
looked like he was out of Breech in Vegas. I'll tell you that.
They pulled the Falcons.
He might have
came out gangbusters. I think they were up 10-0.
Yeah.
They're up 17-7.
And then
Not like they were going to roll away with it. All right.
Yeah.
Well, so let's talk about. Did I screw that up? Do you forget to talk about all that? No, I didn't. All right, cool. Let's talk about Derek Carr.
MVP, baby.
No, the Raiders are 2-0.
MVP of what, Ryan?
By the way, before we go on to I want to say this quickly. One of the other winners outside of the Raiders tonight, the old Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They lost last week. Now they're both 1-1.
I know we were sort of. I feel like, or maybe I was sort of like, all right, the Saints are a lock to win this division.
Well, I felt good about the.
I'm not so sure.
I felt good about the Saints until they played the Raiders. But yeah, now, right, exactly.
I mean, I do wonder, like, all right, so next week on Sunday night, real quickly, we'll finish up with the Saints. So here's the Saints' upcoming schedule. I'm not worried about the Saints. Next week, Sunday night, they play the Packers in New Orleans. I think that is a prime bounce back spot.
Loss.
Plus one?
No. No
one's going to be in the stands. I don't think. Are they having people in the stands yet?
There's no way they're a dog at home to the Packers.
According to Pete Prisco.
If the Packers win this game, Pete Prisco.
The Saints were favored by 4 in the opening odds, and that was the point spread before this game was played. And obviously that could change now. The odds makers have seen how bad that offense is without Michael Thomas. So by Tuesday morning, we might see a different number, but it was 4 points. Saints were favored.
And our pals at William Hill
kickoff.
do not have a game up yet. In fact, I don't even see one offshore.
I bet it gets to -1.
Yeah,
+1.
well, you could bet it at William Hill Monday morning at 4 points. Saints favored. It is now not there, though. I'm sure that number is being readjusted.
I would bet the Saints are -2.5.
Saints going to win that one.
I think people will load on the Packers and the Saints will blow them out. Like the Saints really did look. I mean, like they just looked lethargic and hungover.
Yeah, I mean, remember last year when the Packers went to lost to
LA?
the Chargers? I mean, come on. On.
What kind of home field advantage is Las Vegas going to be, though? Every team's showing up,
That's what
going
I'm
out
saying.
on a 2-night bender before the game. If the Raiders play all their games in prime time, they're going to go 8-0 at home.
So I was doing this like dance in my head where I was like, all right, let's say I'm Sean Payton and I've had COVID. You know, he's already had it and it's gone. I mean, if you've had it, you're not worried about going out in Las Vegas and getting a steak and then suddenly you've had a bottle of wine and
here's the
yada,
thing.
yada, yada. It's 3 a.m. and you're at the freaking blackjack table in
Here's the thing.
Caesar's Palace. It's possible.
This isn't Mike Zimmer hanging out in Minnesota and it's -40 degrees. They live in New Orleans. They can go play blackjack. There's a Harris
Vegas
right
is
down
different,
the street.
man. Vegas is different.
I would imagine so, but
I'm
New
just
Orleans-
saying, I was running it through my head. I was like, would I go out in Vegas?
dude.
I was like, yeah.
You
I'd
say
go
that
out.
you're in Vegas walking down the street and you said, should I go out in Vegas? Yeah, that's you. Of course
No,
you're gonna
I'm
say-
just saying, like, if I was Sean Payton, I was like, would I go out in Vegas? I was like, yeah, I'd go out in Vegas. I'm just saying. I think the Saints will roll the Packers.
You know who didn't go out last night? Who stayed at home and did his homework?
Derek Carr.
Derek Carr.
Yeah, but that's the type of person. This was a total Derek Carr game. He did not blow me away with anything he did, but he didn't make any mistakes. He checked down the whole game, and if you were on
Why
Twitter,
do you guys hate Derek Carr so much?
All he
because, look,
did
he's
was
gonna be-
throw to Darren Waller on crossing routes.
he's
That's
going to be in
all he did.
situations. You
Brinson,
look
let me
at
ask
you look
you
at their
this.
schedule, Ryan. They play the Patriots, the
I-
Bills, and the Chiefs in the next 3 weeks. If somebody takes Darren Waller out of the game, what's Derek Carr going to do? It seems like he is. I don't want to say a one-trick pony, but if you're a
one-trick
defensive
horse?
coordinator, I feel like he's an easier quarterback to figure out
Yeah,
than.
Mike Allen did a bang-up job with that. Let me
Okay,
ask
so
this.
you know
No,
when
hold on.
you've got
Let me
you've
ask-
got a car that you've been driving for like
A Derek Carr?
it actually fits perfectly. It's a car. You've been driving for 5 or 6 years, and maybe longer, and you like it. You're used to it. You know everything about it. You've been you're thinking about buying a new car because you need one. There's a bunch of upgrades to the new car that will make it life a lot easier for you, but you don't really want to deal with going to the dealership. You don't really want to deal with having a car payment. You don't want to deal with like the whole hassle of the thing. So you just keep driving the old car. That's Jon Gruden and Derek Carr. It's familiar. It's comfortable. Don't want to deal with anything new. We can figure something out down the road. There's no way that Jon Gruden believes that Derek Carr is his like long-term franchise quarterback, even though Derek Carr definitely believes that he is Jon Gruden's long-term franchise quarterback and will be shocked when he doesn't get a new contract from him. They want to force feed Henry Ruggs. They couldn't do it because he was a little banged up on Monday night, and they really want to force feed Josh Jacobs. But the reality is, when push comes to shove, Derek Carr in the pocket is not willing to pull the trigger on big-time, big boy throws.
That's fine.
And instead likes to check down to Darren Waller left and right. And that's fine.
He's not – well, it's not fine. You guys hate him. He's not a top 10 quarterback. But
no,
let me put it to you this way. Breech, close your eyes, if you will. Imagine him playing this game for the Bengals, and you're out there buying every Derek Carr jersey you can find. I mean, that's a huge development for the Bengals pre-Joe Burrow era. Because
he's a poor man's Andy Dalton. It's not a huge development.
I have some bad news, Breech.
Andy Dalton's a poor man's Derek Carr.
I think that they're in the same class of quarterbacks.
And by the way,
that's a class of quarterbacks without a playoff win. It's a class of quarterback that puts up numbers in the regular season, doesn't do anything in the postseason.
And I'm the guy defending Derek Carr when I said Marcus Mariota is going to win the job.
That ship has sailed, it looks like.
Yeah, can we
think
run
about
that
Carr
clip
is like
on a loop?
Every damn time I watch him play it, I'm like, I'm just not that impressed. I'll tell you this. This is not a bashing the Raiders podcast. We were just questioning Derek Carr. Jon Gruden. We ripped Jon Gruden when they hired him in Oakland. And then for the Las Vegas move. He has it. He still has it. He is a great play designer. He's a great play caller. I don't know if their defense is going to become really good. I don't know if Gruden's going to win a Super Bowl with the Raiders. But, and I mean, he's sort of banged because, Patrick Mahomes is in his division for the rest of his 10-year contract. But he knows how to call plays, and he knows how to get the most out of his offense. And
look, wait a second, though. Imagine a scenario where they do something crazy and get Trevor Lawrence. Then, boom, done.
Sure. I'd flip it on. Or Justin Fields. Maybe
yeah, I feel better about Justin Lawrence.
Of course. Yeah. Trevor Lawrence feels
but the point is, like, the Raiders have proven that they're not afraid to mix things up. And, we know that when Jon Gruden falls in love, he falls hard. So, just something to keep in mind. I mean,
this team's 2-0. I didn't think they'd be 2-0.
I'm giving Derek Carr credit for doing his job, and that's exactly what he did.
I feel like a lot of this credit should go to Jon Gruden. I thought he coached a fantastic game. Brinson, you just mentioned him, obviously, but I'm going to give out specific points. He went for it twice on fourth down. They were 2 for 2 on fourth down. Both of them are key. One of them was down on the goal line at the 1 yard line. Again, some coaches are still in that mind frame where they're like, you know what, I'm just going to take the points. Jon Gruden said, no, we are going to punch this in for a touchdown, and they did, which was huge. And then we had the field goal at the end of the game, which, we were kind of debating. Should the Raiders have even attempted it? Because if they miss, all of a sudden the Saints are only 50 yards away from a potential game-tying touchdown or game-winning touchdown with a minute left. But no, Gruden sent his kicker out for a 54-yarder, and that's one of those things like, a coach, your kicker better than anyone else, and if he tells you you can make it, you send him out, and that's what Gruden did.
First time kicking in that stadium too, by the way.
Yeah, so
in a full game, and Carlson banged it. I mean, he smashed it right down the pipe.
Gruden's in Vegas, and he did some gambling tonight. Fourth down on that field goal, and he won. He came up.
I will happily admit that I was wrong about the Jon Gruden experiment. He has already surpassed what I thought he would do coming back from 7 years in retirement as a head coach. Like, he's a good coach. He's ridiculous. He's a good coach.
Yeah, but how many games did they win last year?
8, 7.
Yeah, let's settle down.
Won 7.
I mean, he's doing good.
Their roster is not that great.
Well, who's making those decisions?
Well, the roster's getting better. They've got a lot of young talent there.
I think he's doing fine, but you're willing to give him a pass after a year and a half, or was last year's first year? This is third year now, right?
Third year.
Yeah, they're not winning football.
I thought they were going to be a laughingstock with Gruden.
That's
I was
fair.
wrong.
Fair
I was
enough.
wrong.
They're better than that. That's right.
Yeah, they're going to compete. He is a really, really good offensive play caller and a really good offensive play designer. And he's getting the most out of Derek Carr. I mean, like, Darren Waller, Brian Edwards, Hunter Renfrow, Fabian Monroe, Nelson Aguilar, Josh Jacobs, Zay Jones were their leading receivers. Ruggs was banged up. I don't know why I'm saying bang so much tonight. You know why? Because I was on Twitch. Adam Azer. We got Adam Azer say they banged.
I don't know what that means.
Henry Ruggs, 3 targets, 1 catch, 4 yards. But late in the game did draw a pass interference penalty on Janoris Jenkins that set up the Daniel Carlson field goal.
Yeah, it was a terrible call.
I don't like the call on the spot. If you're Jackrabbit, you got to know that Derek Carr is throwing it deep and the ball, like you got to see the ball. Don't
Wait a
back the
second.
receiver.
You two numbnuts just been yelling up and down about Derek Carr only throws dump offs, and now Jack Rabbit.
Right, that's my point. Don't commit
Yeah, and he
pass
got
interference
bailed
with
out
Derek
by
Carr
the
throwing
officials
deep.
on the one time he did throw it.
The ball was uncatchable.
It was.
No,
well,
you can't. You shouldn't throw a flag on that ball. It's so uncatchable.
Right, that's what I just said. It wasn't even defensive pass.
My point is that, like, if Derek Carr is throwing deep, don't commit pass interference.
He didn't.
I think the Saints defense had a bad game. I still think it's a good defense. Josh Jacobs is a monster. If Nando DeFino was in that Twitch thing I was talking about, he said he would take Josh Jacobs like third overall now if you're redrafting with McCaffrey hurt and Saquon hurt.
You know where Nando's from?
Syracuse.
The Cuse, baby.
Yeah, Nando's
Well, yeah. I mean, everyone else is hurt, so I would take Josh Jacobs first too.
I think Josh Jacobs is a top 5 pick next year.
He's really good. I don't think that excuses the way that defense played, but he's really good.
Okay. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll update you on some of those injuries we mentioned. A lot of new information out there. Okay, so injury updates very quickly because it was today. You're listening to this on Tuesday morning. That means your next podcast that you hear will be the Brady Quinn football show on Wednesday morning. So we want to get you the news and notes. Let's run. We didn't really run because we kind of ran through these a little bit on Sunday in the recap show, but I sort of felt like
added some names to the list.
Oh, I know. So Saquon Barkley officially out for the year with a torn ACL. That it sucks. I don't think it affects the Giants that much, which is sort of an indictment of the Giants in general. But it's also like it's a hard position.
Here's something to keep an eye on. So he's going to miss year 3.
And he's eligible for a contract next offseason.
And they're going to have to pay him $18 million a year, something
You
insane.
can't pay him $18 million a year coming off an ACL.
We'll see. Dave Gettleman would like a word.
And again, like not trying to crap on the Giants and Dave Gettleman and Saquon Barkley immediately after he tears his ACL, but he's injured. He's suffering. It's a hard position to play. You get hurt. For the second year in a row, he's gotten injured in week 2.
Well, I mean, that's not Saquon's fault. That is the man who drafted him, second overall?
Sorry, bad team around him.
What'd you say?
There's a bad team around him.
No, my point is don't draft a running back second overall and then
I
get upset when he gets hurt.
Right. Cortland Sutton out for the year with a torn ACL as well. That sucks. Drew Lock, by the way, is going to be out at least 2 weeks, although I would bet it's more like, what's that?
2 weeks, and then they're going to reevaluate him.
I think it's a severe AC sprain / rotator cuff.
It's the latest.
On his right shoulder. I don't understand how you come back and play this year.
Oh, I don't know about that. I just know that they're going to wait 2 weeks.
The Broncos are going to stink the rest of the year.
That's the other thing. I talked about this on the CBS Sports HQ show, which you didn't
I
yet.
should have mentioned that. Go ahead and play it.
Oh, yeah. Every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, Will Brinson, John Breech, Ryan Wilson on the HQ CBS Sports Pick Six podcast show, 4 p.m. to 4:30 Eastern Standard Time. Monday, Brady Quinn. Tuesday, Danny Cannell. Thursday, Danny Cannell. And then Friday, just the 3 of us bozos. Anyway, talking sports, watching.
Danny and Brady can't work on Fridays. Hilarious.
But us, we 3 schlubs can. But anyway, I mentioned on the Monday show, the premiere show of the fall season, that what was I talking about? Before I did
the Broncos have got bad luck and they're screwed.
Right, yeah. But I think maybe Breach thinks it's just me and you, but a lot of people I think were on the Broncos bandwagon
I was off.
Okay, I was on. Joe Flacco turned you off to him. I was on to them. And then Von Miller gets hurt before the season starts. I was like, okay, that's fine. As long as Drew Lock can hold it together, utilize his weapons, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, Cortland Sutton, Noah Fant, Melvin Ingram, they'll be fine. Phil Lindsay. All those guys except Melvin Ingram are hurt. Noah Fant isn't as well. So it ain't looking good. And if you do shut them down, I understand. But that's one more year lost. That will be the second year in the league, then third year next year. And then you'll have one more year after that as a second-round pick to determine whether you want him or not. So, anyway.
It's a problem.
Wilson, if it makes you feel any better, the only other person we had here who picked the Denver Broncos to go to the playoffs besides you was Pete Prisco.
Ooh,
Makes me feel worse.
Well, and then Pete famously tweeted like Drew Lock will be a stud. Watch.
He loves Drew Lock, yeah.
But he dropped Drew Lock in our fantasy league for Derek Carr in week 1.
And you could not wait to call him out on Twitter.
It was a coward move.
And like if the Broncos are 1-4, so if Drew Lock, let's say he's out 3 more weeks and they're 1-4, I mean, are you even rushing him back at that point? Or are you saying, just take like 3 more weeks to heal?
I mean, a rotator cuff and a sprained AC, a severe sprain of your AC joint in your right shoulder, you're a quarter. Like that's like an ACL tear for a running back.
I don't know about that, doctor. But even if they're 1-4,
I mean, maybe it's worse. You can, if you think Drew Lock is the future at quarterback, and you're 1-4, as Breech points out, you cannot rush Drew Lock back. You need him to get the reps, but you cannot deal with him suffering a serious long-term injury. That's just a bad. You can't do that.
I thought Breech was going to say if he's 1-4 and you bring him back, you're not going to make the playoffs anyway, which I also agree with. I mean, their season's over.
Good call. Also, in injury news, Nick Bosa, torn ACL officially. That sucks as well. And when you start to look at it, man, if you're the 49ers, if I'm Kyle Shanahan, if I'm John Lynch, I'm furious at this MetLife Stadium situation.
Keep reading the names on the list with the San Francisco.
Raheem Mostert expected to miss this week. Telvin Coleman expected to miss multiple weeks. Jimmy G, high ankle sprain week to week, but could be ready for week 3. I mean, all those guys go out.
Eric Armstead tore his ACL.
Wait, Armstead? What? No.
Yes.
Armstead tore his ACL?
He also tore his ACL a few plays later, if I recall correctly. So they carted him off.
God.
It was reported on Monday that he also tore his ACL.
Are you sure?
Are you talking Solomon Thomas?
Solomon Thomas tore his ACL.
My God,
sorry.
Wilson, you're mixing your guys up.
Eric
You're bringing
Armstead
a heart attack.
tweeted out a complaint about
right.
the. Oh
Thank you,
I
Devo,
was
for
like,
correcting me.
I was like, how did I miss that? Thank you, Devo.
Did you mention Solomon's name though?
No.
Oh, okay, that's what. Okay,
It wasn't on the prompter here. So
the defensive tackle. I got the wrong one. My bad, Eric and all of Eric's family and friends. Solomon, I'm sorry that you got hurt.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of players, and now you can. I don't know that you can necessarily chalk it up to like injury luck either, or injury regression. I mean,
no, that's terrible luck, is what that is.
Right, but I mean, like that turf all of a sudden is completely destroyed. They got to play it again at the Giants this week. They're having somebody come and look at it. I mean, what a mess. Did the NFL come back too soon?
Wait, no. What? What are you talking? What does that mean? What are you talking?
There have been
about?
2 weeks of preseason, then the regular season in the middle of September.
I don't know how that keeps you from playing on turf that's too sticky.
Well, I mean,
there's been
all
4
didn't
teams.
happen at MetLife.
4 teams have played on that turf. Yeah, the injuries didn't all happen at MetLife, and there's been 4 teams that have played on that turf, and only 1 team has had an issue with it.
But Breech, you were saying that you don't think it has anything to do with the schedule last night. It's just random luck.
But no, I didn't say that. You don't listen to anything I say, Brinson.
Kyle Shanahan in that post-game press conference, he is as angry as I've ever seen him. And that includes the times he was going 4-12 with the 49ers. And he said, in all my years, I've never seen guys go down like they went down on this turf. And
I mean, they're dropping like flies.
And the players are specifically saying that the turf felt particularly sticky. So I don't know what happened before and after those games in terms of players not getting hurt, but
we've had the Giants and the Steelers play. And what was our logic that they played on Monday night in week 1 and that wore it in, or like it wasn't messed up then?
I don't know what Breech's logic was on that, but
no, nobody complained about it. That's it.
No one got
It was
hurt.
weird. It is weird that they played on Monday night and you didn't hear one peep, and then
the Jets
next
didn't
week
complain either.
Destroyed.
It was only 1 team though.
I mean, how many people are healthy for the Jets? No one. They practice on it, right?
It's only been 1 team, so I think you need a bigger sample size before you blame the turf.
Rashad Perryman has an ankle injury.
The NFL investigated the turf and they said it's fine.
Yeah, but the NFL also said that head injuries weren't a concern at one point.
Fair.
So
the NFL said smoking was cool.
I would just say this.
They didn't actually say that.
No, they didn't say that. I don't know why they just don't play on natural grass. That seems to be an easy solution. Is it more expensive in the long run? Yes. Can billionaires afford it? Yes. Yeah. I mean, you're making investments of tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars sometimes in these players. Make it so they can play without getting hurt.
Anthony Barr for the Minnesota Vikings out for the year with a torn pectoral. So RJ White and I were sort of tweeting about this on Monday night. Prisco was doing his little Packers dance, or peacock dance. Like? He's like,
The peacock dance.
The Vikings might be one of the 5 worst teams in football.
Yeah.
They might get Trevor Lawrence. They're terrible.
He might not. He would.
And Mike Zimmer would gladly take him. Whatever I can do to get rid of Kirk Cousins.
They just gave Kirk Cousins an extension.
Zimmer doesn't care.
That team is bad, dude. And their defense is only getting worse. Danielle Hunter will be back, but Barr out. That's a problem. Christian McCaffrey expected to miss multiple weeks. That's no good. He's so
Nope. Not great.
And Paris Campbell and Malik Hooker both likely out for the season for my Super Bowl champion, the Indianapolis Colts. Not good either.
Malik Hooker tore his Achilles, I do believe. I think I got that one right. So I think.
Oh, no, Paris Campbell's not out for the season. I think he's going to be.
I think he's okay.
Yeah.
There was some concern that he tore an ACL. I don't think he tore his ACL.
No, he did not.
Right.
But yeah, Malik Hooker, Achilles out for the year. I mean, it just does feel like these guys haven't had the proper lead up to the season.
These are, I mean, Achilles. I don't know if Achilles. Marlon.
Oh, actually, let me ask you this: is it possible that because we didn't have training camp or we had training camp, but like we didn't have a lot of the off season and or any of the preseason, that these injuries are coming in instead of being spread out over the course of training camp and preseason and into the regular season, that they're all being clustered right now?
We complain every year, week 1, week 2, about the injuries. Every year.
Doesn't feel that way.
This is no different. And sometimes guys go down in August, and we talk about it then. I mean, we were in Fort Lauderdale last year in August for the telethon, and I think Cam Newton got hurt.
Yeah, Cam hurt his foot against the Patriots.
So, we were belly aching about why is he in there? What's going on? I mean, this is what happened. We just forget. I don't know why we forget. Breech makes a note about everything every week of the football season. He doesn't make notes about injuries for some reason, and he just keeps talking about the same stuff.
Get it together, Breech.
Too many injuries to keep track of, guys. Too many injuries.
All right, is that all the injuries?
I'm sure it isn't.
I mean, we could probably spend another 4 hours talking about all the injuries.
I'm sure we'll have some more. But for now, that's it. That's the show. We'll be back tomorrow. The Brady Quinn Football Show. Thanks for listening. Watch the HQ, 4 p.m. Eastern every day, including Wednesday with me, Prisco, and Brady, apparently. I'm stuck on that show with those.
But except for Tuesday the 22nd, which is when most people will be listening to this.
That's right.
We have no show.
UEFA.
Right. That's right. Because it's Champions League. So
we got preempted.
Go to CBS All Access or CBS Sports HQ and get your Champions League coverage. Boom. Roasted. See you tomorrow.